Hello, and welcome to the CSRA eMedNY computer-based training series for New York State Medicaid providers. This video is part of our ePACES series of tutorials. The purpose of this session is to familiarize providers with the ePACES Eligibility Request and Response functions. If you are not enrolled in ePACES and do not have a username and password, please contact the eMedNY call center at 800-343-9000 to request ePACES enrollment. To log into ePACES, go to the eMed New York website at www.emedny.org and select Login ePACES on the right side of the screen. You will then enter your username, password, and check that you've read and agreed to the Medicaid confidentiality regulations. Click the Agree Login button, and you will be into the ePACES system. On the left-hand side, you will notice the eligibility function. It is a two-step process, the request followed by the response. An eligibility request starts with entering in the client's Medicaid ID number, which in New York State is always 2 letters, 5 numbers, and 1 letter. If you do not have the client's Medicaid ID number, you have the option of entering in the client's first name, last name, date of birth, social security number, and gender. You will then give us the date of service you're checking. The system automatically defaults to today's date. You can also check for a date in history up to 2 years. A service type of 30 health benefit plan coverage is the default when you check eligibility. You do have the option of selecting other service types as you see on the left-hand side of the screen, but we highly recommend that you let the system default to 30 and get the response back based upon the service type of health benefit plan coverage 30. You would then click the Submit button at the bottom of the screen, and once you click Submit, you'll notice back up at the top, you'll see a Request Has Been Submitted message, and the rest of the screen will be cleared. Once your request has been submitted, you will then go back to the eligibility function on the left, and this time you're going to choose the Responses link. The eligibility work list on the Responses page automatically defaults to requests within the last 3 days. You can also search a date range or by client's name or ID. But if we just entered one like we just did here, you'll notice that the client ID automatically shows up in the list, shows you their name and the date that it was submitted. You will then click on the client's ID to get the eligibility response details. A couple of examples here of responses would include the top box where it says client information. We will give you the client ID, the client's gender, date of birth, anniversary date, and recertification month with Medicaid, their county of fiscal responsibility, the date of service you requested the eligibility for, the client's name, address, any office code that could show up, as well as the plan date. We will also give you the Medicaid eligibility information current for that date that you checked. In this case, we're saying not Medicaid eligible. A couple of other brief examples here. We're giving you an example of a Medicaid eligible response. We'll also show you if there's any copay remaining, and you'll see the list on the right-hand side of services that require a copay. The eligible PCP response indicates that there's managed care Medicaid involved. And you'll notice there's now a third box indicating the name, address, phone number, and plan code of the Medicaid managed care plan that this individual has. Other information we give back on a response for eligibility would be Medicare information, third-party or other insurance information, utilization threshold information when the individual is at their service limits for the services you see here, and Medicaid restricted recipient information, should the client be restricted to any of these service categories. For more information and references, we suggest you go to the ePACES Help Guide, the ePACES Eligibility Request and Eligibility Response Reference Sheets, and the MEVS, the Medicaid Eligibility Verification System Provider Manual, all found on the eMedMe website. This concludes our ePACES eligibility tutorial. Thank you for joining, and please visit us at www.emedny.org for additional training resources.